So the GlazeGuard Satin Finish is a sheen that's in between the matte and the gloss. The matte is a very flat, no sheen sealer, and then the gloss is a high gloss, high sheen, and the satin is in between the two. It gives us a little bit of gloss, but without making it look very high sheen. Yeah, so the GlazeGuard Satin actually will give the floor, the tile and the grout a wet look, the same as the gloss. It's just the sheen, the shine level, if you like, is not so glossy. So you'll still get a wet look, but you won't have such a high shine. So many people ask, can we use the GlazeGuard Satin on polished tiles, polished porcelain tiles? We don't really recommend sealing polished porcelain tiles with any sealer, including the GlazeGuard. That is a very hard surface on which to roller apply a sealer and make it look nice. So you can use the GlazeGuard Satin Finish in or on any kind of ceramic or porcelain tile or grout. It works very well in wet areas, like in a kitchen or in a shower or a bathroom, somewhere where you want to keep the tile and the grout very clean, make it easier to maintain, and maybe cut down on the odors and things that may be coming from the grout. So we can use it in those wet area situations. We can use it in a commercial or a residential application where we want to change the sheen, maybe make it a little more shiny, a little more glossy, or we want to reduce the sheen and make it more of a medium sheen. So ceramic and porcelain tile, commercial or residential application are all good areas where you can use, or good surfaces where you can use the GlazeGuard Satin Finish. You can also use the product, because it's designed to stick to very hard and dense surfaces, you can use it on natural stone, you can use it on concrete. So again, in those areas that perhaps are porous, susceptible to staining or discoloration, you can use the GlazeGuard Satin to put a clear barrier across the stone and grout lines if you have them. So another area where you could use the GlazeGuard Satin Finish is in lobbyways or walkways, stairways, areas where you have high traffic and you want to put a tough, durable barrier across the tile and the grout to make it easier to clean, easier to maintain, and maybe to eliminate like wear patterns that have been shown in those high traffic areas. So we can also use the GlazeGuard Satin Finish on floors and walls, actually, horizontal and vertical applications. It will work on like backsplashes, shower walls, or walls in like a school environment or a hospital environment. Just may need to be applied in 2 coats instead of 1 coat on a vertical application, but it is very durable in those situations. The GlazeGuard Satin Finish can be used interior or exterior. It's got very good UV resistance, it's non-yellowing, and will last for years, exterior as well as interior. The reason GlazeGuard works so well in these areas is because, well, really 3 reasons. The adhesion properties, remembering we have those adhesion promoters that allow us to bond to that very dense, impermeable surface. The fact that it's got high polymer content, right? So it's a very durable, very chemical resistant product. And then the third point is it's a 2-part sealer that it actually cross-links and forms this very tough sealer that's very UV resistant. It won't break down to chemicals or cleaning chemicals or staining. So it works very well interior and exterior because of that. So you can use GlazeGuard Satin on unglazed surfaces. In fact, I highly recommend it because they're susceptible to staining and discoloration. They're a lot more porous than a glazed tile would be. So putting a clear barrier across the tile and the grout will protect that tile, make it easier to clean, and just enhance the look, bring out the colors in that surface. So using the GlazeGuard Satin Finish on grout, again, is highly recommended. It'll put a barrier across that grout, a very dense, impermeable barrier that will stop it being stained and will also stop odors coming out of the grout, for example, in a restroom situation. But you need to make sure that the grout hasn't been previously sealed, specifically with these impregnators or these water repellent products. If that's the case, then those need to be cleaned out or removed before you seal it with a water-based glaze guard. Otherwise, it will repel that product. So if your grout has been previously sealed and you want to then seal over it with the GlazeGuard Satin, you need to just check, first of all, with the grout manufacturer or the sealant manufacturer, how to remove that product. Typically, it needs to be stripped, using a floor finish stripper, or it needs to be etched with some kind of micro etching cleaner, acidic based, or it needs to be sanded so that we can top coat it. For example, if it was an epoxy or an acrylic sealer, then we can top coat over that with our GlazeGuard as long as the surface is sanded. But check with the supplier of that grout sealant how it needs to be removed before sealing with the GlazeGuard. So our GlazeGuard Satin Finish contains a water-based urethane, a two-part urethane, combined with adhesion promoters that allow us to bond to that very dense and impermeable surface. We also have a high polymer content, typically double most of the standard sealers. And then thirdly, because it's a two-part, it cross-links and forms this very tight-knit surface or treatment that staining and dirt cannot penetrate. The standard sealers typically are one part, so they're not as tightly cross-linked. They don't have those adhesion promoters, so they don't bond so well on the surface, and they don't have such chemical resistance. So for example, if you're in a restroom or in a wet area like a shower where there's lots of water, lots of cleaning chemicals, they're going to break down those one-part bonding products very quickly. They're going to lift and peel and not protect the surface for over a longer period. So I always tell people to be fussy about cleaning porcelain tile before sealing it with our GlazeGuard Satin Finish. You've got to remember that you're going to be sealing it with something that's going to last many years, right? So you want to make sure there's no dust or dirt on the floor or any footprints, something that's going to be locked down by the sealer. So be fussy about cleaning it. You should use a high pH cleaner. That will remove dirt, grease, stains. So a good high pH tile and grout cleaner. If you're in a wet condition like a shower or a restroom that's constantly getting wet and dry and having cleaning chemicals, then we recommend that you micro etch the surface with something like our pre-treat cleaner that will prepare the surface and give us better adhesion for the GlazeGuard Satin Finish. One of the key advantages of using the GlazeGuard Satin Finish is that it makes cleaning and maintaining the floor much easier. You don't need to use harsh or aggressive chemicals. You just need to use mild detergents or mild soaps to clean the surface. The dirt won't stick to the surface like an untreated tile. You'll find that the concentration level of that cleaner will go way down. You don't have to use a concentrated level of cleaner. It's also important to keep dust and dirt and sand off the floor. So good practices like having mats in the entranceways to trap dirt before it gets onto the floor is also good practice. So if you have unusual spills or messes, the GlazeGuard Satin is actually very chemically resistant. So in most cases, it's going to resist that spill and give you plenty of time to clean that up without damaging the surface. If it's very, very aggressive or very acidic, you might see some changing gloss, and in that case, you can repair that area locally, sand it, and then reapply a top coat. If there's a lot of water, maybe it's a flood situation, again, the GlazeGuard has excellent water resistance and long-term water immersion resistance as well. So normally just allowing the floor to dry out will be fine with this GlazeGuard. If it is, for whatever reason, leaves watermarks because of many, many months of immersion, and then in that case, you would let it dry out, sand the surface, and then reapply. So our GlazeGuard Satin Finish has got very good chemical resistance and will prevent those chemicals getting through to the floor below. In most cases, you won't see any change in appearance. It may be stained if it's an aggressive chemical, or if it's some kind of a like a dye type situation. And then in that event, you would strip that area locally and reapply. But it would have done its job of protecting the surface below because of its good chemical resistance. You get a lot of good feedback on the GlazeGuard Satin Finish. People like that look on a floor, for example, in a restroom or in an area that's prone to a lot of high traffic and a lot of maybe aggressive chemicals. It puts a nice sheen on the floor without making it look, fake. It also doesn't show the wear patterns as much as maybe a very high gloss finish would. And also, because it locks down or puts a barrier across the tile and the grout, it's very good at locking out the odor that may come from an old grout floor, in like a restroom environment. It really makes that floor, once it's treated, look pristine and easy to maintain.